So we just got back from seeing the latest Spy Kids movie. What did you think?
That was the entire intro? You said you had an intro?
That is an intro.
Okay, fair enough.
You're supposed to roll with it.
Spy Kids 2018 was a rompin' ravin' adventure flick. Fun for the whole family, I would say.
But also terrible.
So, since we have literally just got back and it hasn't been a day since we
I had to sleep on it.
supposed to record this, yeah. I think it was just because we were so excited coming out of the theater. We couldn't really process our emotions. We were almost as excited as when we came out of The Last Jedi.
It's about
less
swearing, but
significantly.
But still a terrible movie.
Uh-huh.
And that is Ready Player One. It's not very good.
But I mean, like, again, I almost didn't. The reason we're not doing this on Solo is for a number of reasons. The first reason being
nobody wanted to see it.
First being that I don't want to see it, and the second reason being that I feel like it's beating up on a retarded kid. But I
also,
almost feel like
much to talk about.
I feel like this is beating up on a retarded kid a little bit, but it's like the
it's
retarded
Spielberg,
kid,
though.
But it's like
so
the retarded kid started it. It's like he came at me first. This is self-defense. You know, with Solo, it's like I'm the bully going up in the playground to the retarded kid and just beating him to a pulp. You know.
Yeah.
But with Ready Player One, it's like you came to my house, you knocked on my door. You know.
Sure.
So you feel
it was a really, really aggressive analogy. No, so I can't speak to the book because I don't care about it.
Yeah, we should probably get that out of the way.
I don't want to read. I've never read the book.
Mm-hmm.
People who have read the book, of course, say, "Oh, the book is very different.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing like the movie. The movie is way worse." Based on everything I've read about the book, it seems to follow pretty closely.
I have no idea what happens in the book.
The same structure is basically the same.
I can't speak to anything that happens in the book. But I mean, like, if the premise is an Easter egg hunt within a video game, then that doesn't sound terribly interesting.
Well, and the thing is, it's just like the movie in that everything is just a reference. So the whole movie is, look at that thing. That's a thing from another movie.
Remember the 80s? Remember how cool the 80s music was, and how cool 80s movies were, and how cool 80s video games were? Remember that?
All those things are better than this movie.
Which is interesting. So, like, I want to say, first of all, that one of the problems that I have with modern movies that I always talk about, anything set post, like, the digital revolution, you know, is that you don't have enough set pieces. You know, previously you could go to the library to look up, you know, some sort of plot crucial element, but nowadays you just, you know, Google it on your phone, and it doesn't make for a very interesting scene, and it doesn't make for a very interesting structure. So I thought it was interesting how you have, like, because, like, they go to the virtual archives and stuff, and, like, I so much wanted to like that because it could revitalize that aspect of storytelling.
It's not the worst idea.
They just have to do it in a not cringy way.
That's
you know?
The thing.
It's just
so
like...
much of the dialogue is so cringy, and it's so like, look at me, kids. I am a fellow kid.
Right.
That was the other thing. I kept seeing that little GIF of hello, fellow
Steve
kids.
Buscemi.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi. Hello, fellow kids. Because it's written so, like...
corporately?
Very corporately and very much like, look at the toys we can sell. Even though, like, I don't know that there's really any Ready Player One toys, but you know what I mean?
I think that
like,
those toys already came out, and they came out when the original movies that were referenced in Ready Player One came out.
But, like, it was just so... And the dialogue was really repetitive. Like, they would repeat basically verbatim the same lines back to back in scenes.
It seemed like they were padding it. It's like they didn't have enough to go on.
They said Rosebud like 3 times in 3 separate scenes that were like basically back to back.
Yep.
Like, come on, find another reference. But that, and then like the weird jumps between reality and the Oasis. Like, the VFX were really good. Like, it looked pretty good.
It was video game.
For
It was like
Uncanny
Valley.
70% video game.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about. Was that I thought that there shouldn't... I don't understand why they decided to make this live action at all.
No, that was where I was going.
Yeah,
with stealing my.
It would have been so much less jarring because, like...
Because do you care about any of the scenes in real life? Like, did they really matter Did you care about them? Did you were like that added something to the movie?
They didn't. I mean, like the plot line matters.
Does it though?
But it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. I'll say that.
All right.
But I would have been fine if they just did like animations of the characters in the real world.
Something.
You know?
It was just.
It just
it
didn't
was
work
so animated
because,
that why wasn't it just entirely
right?
animated?
Yeah. So much of it was just like CGI nightmare that why not make the whole? Why not go all the way?
And I didn't think it looked bad. I'm just saying it was weird.
Well, it was like very good
two.
video game.
Sure, I'm just saying I thought it looked good. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to say something positive.
Sure. Well, that's another thing that I thought on the note of like things that I didn't hate was that it almost seemed like, because they had that whole scene with the bad guy from Rogue One, who was the Krennic, who was the bad guy in this one too. He's been in a lot of movies lately. Have you noticed that? Yeah. I think Rogue One kind of put him on the map. Yeah. He was in Darkest Hour too.
Wasn't he in Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises? He's like a scumbag diplomat
maybe
in that. I think.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's the one Bane chokes, isn't he? He's like
yeah, I think he is. Yeah,
he's like speak of the devil.
There have been a lot of
I'm pretty sure that's him.
We've recognized in Dark Knight Rises lately.
Yeah,
Teal'c was in Dark Knight Rises too.
Christopher Judge.
But the thing so they had the scene with Krennic and he was talking to the main kid.
Oh my gosh.
Cyclops.
Bossman 69.
Yeah, young Cyclops from X-Men Apocalypse.
Wait. Oh, right.
Main kid, yeah. I thought he was I couldn't quite delineate between him and the guy who played the lead in Baby Driver. Like they looked very similar. Am I alone in this?
Enzel Elgort is his name, I think.
Who did you think he was? You thought he was somebody else.
I thought he was the Fan Stick, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, he looked kind of like that guy too. But he definitely wasn't. Definitely wasn't either of those.
Definitely was not.
But what I liked about that scene where he was a hologram in the room or whatever, was that it was so borderline like self-referential or self-aware, because like the main character was like, you're just a corporate asshole exploiting all of these pop culture references for profit, and it's like, but that's what this movie is. If there was a message about like subverting that, but they don't really go into it after that scene, you know?
Yeah, there was a lot of points where it like almost doubles over on itself, but it doesn't quite.
Would have been so clever. I would have really liked it. Well, listen, if they did it cleverly.
More clever than the movie is.
It would have been clever if they somehow inverted that. Because everybody was expecting this to be CGI nightmare, to be like reference, heaven kind of thing, hell, reference hell, But I almost really respected this movie for making that choice, but then they just dropped it and they never mentioned it again.
The moral, like the moral of the story is really muddled, and that's another thing that we talked about briefly when we left. Is like, well, you brought up the one thing, which is like almost self-referential, but like it doesn't quite get it. It doesn't quite go there, and then the whole ending is Parzival gets the 3 keys, and he goes to the room with Halliday. Is that his name?
Yeah,
Halliday?
Halliday.
The guy who owned the Oasis, and he's like, it's a trick.
It's a test.
Yeah, it's a test. Yeah. It's like the Grail. You're not supposed to do the obvious thing.
You're
supposed
to choose
to not sign over, or to not become the sole owner and proprietor of the Oasis. And he doesn't do it.
But then he just does it anyway.
And then, the next scene, the Halliday's arch nemesis / ex-partner, they sign it anyway. So what was the point of that scene? Like,
yeah, it was a weird creative choice there to just, because like we both said what we were expecting was them to just turn over control of the Oasis to the players.
I thought, it was going to be a commune where it was like everyone owns the Oasis. There's no more DLC. Everyone owns everything.
Yeah. And that would have been really dumb, but like that would have at least been in line with the whole setup of the structure to that point, which was don't play to win, play to have fun. I guess I don't know exactly what the message was.
But also go to the real world sometimes,
because reality is the only thing that's real. All right. Reality is the only thing that's real.
I think that's a line in the movie, isn't it?
It is. That's why.
I figured that's why you're saying it, but I just wanted to confirm before I thought it was really, really dumb. I mean, I still do, but
fair enough.
It's hard to believe that that's a line in the movie.
Can we talk about the real world in this movie for a second, not the Oasis?
So there are a lot of flaws with the Oasis by virtue. That's fine. Overlooking that, there are a lot of flaws with just the real world.
The biggest flaw that that I saw was how somehow Krennic is able to operate an entire like company based on which like their business model is based on slave labor. But I thought the implication was that they like replaced the government or something.
Right.
You
I
know?
figured it was like the corporation is government.
Right,
kind
like
of
a
thing.
mega. Like I get that they were kind of a mega corporation, but like they wouldn't be that if the government still, because at the end we see police cars that are clearly third parties to this whole thing.
Which would mean that either the police are like really corrupt, like Batman level police.
But they never go into that.
No, I'm saying all you needed was this is what I was gonna say is even if that was the case, all you needed was a line of dialogue when they were getting chased originally, like through the streets in the UPS
like why don't we call the cops? Oh, the cops are on their Krennic side.
That's all you need is a throwaway line. At the
Yeah.
very least, come on, guys. Like there's so many little opportunities to fix little things.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, these people like go and take over a whole compound with guns.
And you mentioned they have like
They're terrorists.
drone hit squads and stuff. You know,
they have drones just flying around spying on people.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to have some
You're
line
telling
of
me
dialogue.
that all those drones are registered with the FAA?
Also, all of their stuff is branded IOI.
Yeah.
Like their bots and everything.
It's funny though because it's like the 101. Get it? Because it's like computers. Remember the 80s? Remember computers? What else was there in that movie?
They're just a straight up terrorist organization that uses slave labor, and no one's trying to stop them.
Right.
It's really weird.
I
Krennic's got this weird thing about like not getting his hands dirty. That came up a couple. He won't take the gun.
Oh yeah.
But then like what?
I almost because like again,
slave labor's okay, but
they came very close to doing something not clever, but like more clever again. Where it was like they have Krennic's company, and at the beginning they introduced them as like basically pay to win, like gamesters, you know. And again, that would have been kind of a topical issue to cover, you know. And it would have made sense for why everybody in the Oasis didn't like them just innately, you know? Because I thought at the beginning they weren't going to have like much of a serious... I didn't expect any of it to take place in the real world for the most part.
I thought less of it would... I knew there was stuff that took place in the real world, obviously, because they cast actors.
Right.
But
like
I didn't
very
expect there to be as much as there was.
I thought it was going to be like Balto, where the entire thing was in the Oasis, and then just at the beginning and the end there was going to be like some live action stuff.
Sure.
But,
that's a movie.
You've never seen Balto?
I think I have, but that's just a weird thing to reference.
Is it?
Such a wacky, unique thing to reference.
Was it
like
from the
Buckaroo
80s?
Banzai. There was a couple references like, does anyone know what these things are?
Well, if you lived through the 80s. Just 80s kids things, alright? But that would have been, I think, that would have made it a lot more fun if they didn't make it so like melodramatic for no reason, you know, because
especially towards the
bad guys could have just been the bad guys because they're jerks and because they're like trying to what's the word when you like gamesmanship, you know, they're gamesmanshipping the Oasis, and that's enough to make people. That's exactly what real gamers don't like. You know, if there was an actual massively multiplayer online game and a corporation was, you know, like brute forcing it to try to discover something.
Jobs it was to play the game.
That's exactly what people don't like, and you don't need an excuse to not like that. You know, that's just a jerk thing to do. You don't need to make them murderers.
Murderers and like terrorists.
Right.
They have slaves. They're murderers. I mean, like really, really scummy.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, why do they have to be these why do they have to be Nazis? They could just be jerks. Like, you could not like them because they're jerks.
And again, like, I thought that's where the movie was going, because the first couple scenes they had, what was that skull guy, like the second in command?
T.J. Miller guy?
Yeah, that guy, who kept, like, cracking jokes and stuff.
Well, jokes isn't saying weirdly obvious things.
But I thought that was the direction they were going, because he was, like, he was such a mild, you know, kind of villain, you know?
Right, I thought it was going to be kind of like Lego Movie, where the villain's kind of a goofball, like he thinks he's big and scary, but he's really just kind of an idiot.
Right. And that would have, I think
classic
that would
80s movies
have
with kids.
helped a lot
Like
if they
E.T.
wouldn't have taken themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
You know, but they for some reason decided to make it some sort of preachy message. I think that it was supposed to be like.
But then the message is all muddled, so it's like.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the message is. I think it's
maybe
like
they couldn't decide on one
corporations are bad. I think that's the
I
message.
think they couldn't decide on one message. They wanted 4 different ones, and so they just did all of them.
Corporations are bad. Friendship is good. That was another.
Oh, and love ugly people who aren't ugly at all.
Yeah.
That was another funny plot point where she's like, "You don't want to meet me. I could be super ugly. I am super ugly. Nobody loves me."
After
she's
they
just
were
got
having
like
cyber
a
sex.
little birthmark. Oh.
That scene, I went
Very
into
uncomfortable.
defense mode as soon as that scene started because
Very
they started like
uncomfortable.
showing the real world, like them in the haptic feedback suits and the light.
The light. Well,
I'm not into that. Not into that, especially sitting in a crowded theater.
I was sitting next to like a 4-year-old. It was weird.
That was probably the weirdest scene in the movie, like the most out of place. But
well, you gotta have your sex scene. You gotta keep people interested, you know.
Yeah. I don't know why everybody's doing. Like, I get that it's a simulation. Don't trust me. I get that. All right, but like, why does everybody have the weird anime eyes? It just bothers me. It just bothers me.
That seems to be a new thing everybody's doing.
Because there's that Battle Angel Alita movie.
That's
that
literally
did
the
that.
only other movie I can think of. But that tends to be the trend.
It just looks really bad in live action.
It
It
does.
It doesn't translate well at all. Yeah. Anime eyes.
Too hard.
What else is there?
I think it's for like better expressing the emotions, like with the eyes.
Guess.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like a reason to do that.
I thought it was just
terrible.
I thought it was just like,
Just a style thing.
not a style thing, but just because it was like a reference. You know, just like because people have anime avatars. I guess.
Sure. All right.
So I wouldn't put it past them. All right. Whoever made this movie, who like financed this movie, like Spielberg directed it, but
I don't know.
Universal.
Did Spielberg act directed, or was someone like,
I don't
"Hey,
know.
you did a lot of things,
I didn't know
good movies in
what's
the
the
80s."
last thing that Spielberg even directed?
I think he's had a lot of terrible movies, hasn't he? Like the last
like
few
the
have been
Big Friendly Giant. That was Spielberg, right?
Big Effing Giant.
Yeah.
That's how I always read it.
I always think of Doom whenever I see that acronym.
Doom.
Big fucking gun.
Oh, right. What am I looking up? Oh, yeah, I was going to look up Steven Spielberg. Ugh,
No, Steven Universe.
gross.
Please no.
Speaking of bad things, what was the last... Can you sort by...
Producer. No, go down beyond producer.
Oh, sure. Let's see.
Or just scroll the long way too, that's fine.
You... What? There's a Men in Black spinoff? Gross.
Didn't you say that the guy from What We Do in the Shadows looked like the guy from Men in Black? Didn't you say that last night? One of the vampires from What We Do in the Shadows? You said he looked like the guy from Men in Black?
Which guy from Men in Black?
Oh my gosh. You were the one who said this. I don't know.
I don't think I said this.
I'm pretty sure you did because I looked it up afterwards and he was in Men in Black. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Well,
It would have
let's
been
just say-
really funny if you remembered that and were like,
He's
wow.
done a lot of things,
but-
actually. He's pretty... Well, I mean, he hasn't, like, actually directed a lot of things, but he's been involved with things as a
Oh, he's the
producer.
executive producer. Executive producer just means you do
Yes,
nothing.
I know, but my point is he has his name on a lot of stuff still. I thought he kind of, like retired. kind
He
of
was
thing.
involved with Terra Nova? What?
What even is Terra Nova?
It was kind of an interesting concept, but it was like really, really cheesily executed. Where like these people go back in time. They like they made it like global warming-y in the first few episodes. Where it was like, oh, we've destroyed the planet. We have to go back to the Jurassic era so that we can have clean air to breathe. But I mean, like, it was kind of... They had some interesting moments anyway. Like, I don't know.
Oh, Bridge of Spies he did. I like that.
Yeah, Bridge of Spies. I remember that one.
The Adventures of Tintin. Yeah, he's had a lot
Knights
of
of the Crystal
not
Skull.
classic.
Knights of the Crystal Skull?
It says Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm a little far away from the
Uh-huh.
screen here.
Knights of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, yeah, he did the New War of the Worlds. That's right.
Ugh.
That one wasn't that bad. New War of the Worlds.
That's the one with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Right? Ugh.
It's not that bad.
I just don't like Tom Cruise.
It's not that. I watched that in a hotel once. Yeah.
We got really sidetracked. Other things to talk about. It's terrible.
What would
Dialogue is real hammy. Everything's just references.
They do the I think it just comes down to that nobody really understands gaming culture.
No, because so much like it was so cringy.
Because any movie or any work of media that uses like the word camper
or noob
or like level up a lot.
Or GG. Did they say GG?
They didn't say it, but they had like a poster at the end that said GG right. Parzival or whatever.
Also, your character has a very interesting... in most things, like, when a character has an interesting... Like, their name could mean something, but you go look it up and you find it out and it's cool. Like,
right.
Von Hohenheim, right?
Right, sure.
That's interesting, because you looked it up and you found that is a reference to an actual alchemist.
Right.
But they feel the need to explain Parzival's name
and another girl's name.
Right, another girl's name. But my point is, like, they feel the need to explain that in the dialogue. It's so awkward. Was that not really awkward?
It doesn't...
That's just an example of all the bad dialogue.
Yeah, it was kind of disjointed. But I mean...
if it's a cool name, why do you feel the need to explain it?
Feel the need?
The need? Feel the need?
What else? I'm having trouble even remembering what happened in that movie, honestly. Because they did the thing with the... Oh yeah, it was the thing with how his name was supposed to be a reference to the way superheroes are named. Do you remember that?
Wade Watts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
I was talking about Parzival.
I understand that. Yes, I'm not.
Then Artemis.
I was just... That was a segue.
Sure,
That was a segue. All right.
Okay.
We'll cut this part out.
That's staying in. Yeah, like I don't know what else to talk about. It was.
We really should have recorded this. I'm having trouble remembering anything that happened after that.
It's really standard. There's not any twists. There's no turns. It's all exactly what you'd expect it to be from start to finish.
Did anybody expect anything different from this?
No.
Like I don't even think the trailer got like nobody was really excited about this.
That's the thing.
When did the book even come out? Like how recent is this book? You should look that up. The original, because I was saying that it doesn't seem like because I mean this movie has to have been in development for a while to get all the rights and stuff,
that alone is an interesting achievement.
Right.
Like, I don't know how they got
it's basically just one long
every
commercial.
frame is packed.
Yeah. It's so dense.
Yeah. Because man,
The Shining is the key to all of this because it's a much funnier character.
I still think it's funny that The Shining, the stuff from The Shining looks worse than the original movie does. Like,
well, again, it was just like the uncanny valley stuff.
Right, but like even the blood looks like juice, like, because the bloody hallway scene's pretty iconic and it looks really cool. And then it just looks like grape juice. Like, I don't know how you screw that up.
Oh, there was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Krennic. Because, look up when the book came out, because this will factor in. Because they, this one came out, I think we settled that this came out before Infinity War, right? Did it come out before the trailer of Infinity War?
The book came out August 16th, 2011.
Wow. Okay, that was way earlier than I thought. I was pegging it at like 2014. Well,
classics never age.
When did the first trailer for Ready Player One come out? Because the way that Krennic's like Oasis character comes out of the boom tube.
This is another weirdly specific thing from you.
But is this? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? It looks like exactly.
It's gotta be before.
It's like frame for frame the way that Thanos comes out of the boom tube in the Infinity War trailer. It's gotta be intentional. It was way too close to not be intentional.
December 10th, 2017? Feels like it should have been longer than that, right?
I was actually expecting it to be shorter than that, but wow, yeah. I thought it was going to be 2018. I have kind of lost track of time, though.
Yeah.
So that happens to me a lot. So, because that's definitely before the Infinity War trailer, then, right?
Sure.
Nope.
Nope.
Interesting.
So maybe it is a ripoff. Maybe a weirdly specific thing.
Are you telling me that didn't remind you of the way?
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. It's just a very.
It was like incredibly specific, though. It was incredibly.
I think we should move on. Getting really hung up on this.
Yeah, move on to what? What else is there in this movie? Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
The massive power imbalances for everything.
Yeah, just like as a... What do you mean, in the Oasis?
Yeah, like as a mechanic.
Yeah, like as a game, it would not survive very long.
People would be so angry at each other because you can just sort of buy anything, and it apparently has any attributes that it would have in the thing that it's from.
And they have an item that just literally kills everything in the game, so that seems like a bit OP.
Right.
Please nerf in next patch.
Unless you have an extra life, I guess. Because that's the big...
reveal?
Which
Question
seems
mark?
kind of like cheating. And then he has that line at the end where he's like...
But you didn't even need my help? Is that
yeah,
what
and
you're
I was
thinking of?
like...
It's like, well, he would have died and not succeeded.
You would have died,
yeah.
so yes, he did need your help.
Kind
You're
of
the
did.
only reason you got the third key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course, everyone just respawns anyway, but...
Which is another thing that I wanted, because at the end, when they're all watching the broadcast of him putting the keys into the last, like, door, right? One of the other guys in the main crew is like, the game is over for them or something like that, because they're all just watching him put the keys in. But, like, is there a reason they wouldn't just respawn? Like, maybe I missed something. It's very possible that I missed a line of dialogue about this. But I didn't understand that, because it seemed like the entire rest of the movie, they had gone on about how the only consequence for dying was that you would lose your inventory, right? So, it wasn't like a permadeath. It's not a permadeath situation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Was there... Did you hear anything about that to explain that line?
No.
No. Okay.
The implication is that they do respawn, though.
But then why wouldn't they have just respawned and tried to beat the thing?
Right. Oh, well,
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying they talk about respawning. Another interesting point is... where was I going with this? Keep talking while I figure this out.
Gotcha. Well, one thing that I thought was kind of... Again, don't know if this was in the book.
Right.
Not speaking to the book, speaking only to the movie canon here. But it seems like kind of a flawed premise to let...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
To let everybody... Or to let each challenge be like a multiplayer thing. Yeah. Because then as soon... Like, again, they covered this a little bit in the movie, that as soon as one person gets it... Like, why? There's nothing to keep everybody else
I
from
always
getting
thought it was one key. Like, there would only be one key.
Right, like not an
but there's
infinite
apparently
number.
an unlimited number of keys.
Right. That was a very weird choice to me, because...
Yeah, well...
I thought that there were going to be a singular key for each one, and then, like, he would find the first one, and then, like, the girl would find the second one, and they would join forces, and then the bad guy would find the third one, and they'd have to take it from him.
Like a classic, adventure story where you have to, like, fight the villain because the villain has something that the heroes need. Something,
but it just completely destroys that, because everybody, as soon as you see something...
But then after the first key, so they established that in the first key, and then the second and the third one, they never come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like the movie, and maybe I was the only one that felt this way, but I felt like there was only one of the others. I know there wasn't, but like the way they treat it,
right? They're
like all trying to kill each other. It's like, why wouldn't you just wait?
It's
why do you have to be the first to get it?
It's very weird how that works. I don't know if that's reading too closely into it. I don't think it is, right? That seems like a pretty fair criticism.
Yeah,
right?
I thought that was a really weird choice.
Yeah.
So after he got the first one, I was like, okay, he's got it. Everyone's gonna like try to kill him or something to get it. But no, other people just start getting it.
They wouldn't be able to find him because he was wearing Clark Kent sunglasses.
That was really
Remember
weird.
Superman? Remember how that came out in the 80s?
They really liked Superman. There was a lot of Superman references.
What was the other Superman reference?
The bad guy was Superman.
The That was Superman? Okay.
I think it was.
It
Well,
looked
he
like
had the
Clark
little
Kent.
curly cue.
Yeah, he looked like Clark
I
Kent.
think he's supposed to be like evil Superman.
Well, I didn't quite understand that either. I feel like that could have been... What was the point of that? What was the point of the movie?
Well, I was just going to say,
general?
what is the point of this movie? Money, I guess?
Money's good? Money's bad?
A weirdly popular book.
Is the book popular?
I mean, it's popular among nerds.
This is another weird thing.
Look, that's a reference to a thing I know. Listen,
Right.
I'm all for a good reference. I'm not for a book that's entirely written around the premise of referencing other things that are better than it.
Well, this is the weird thing that I thought, because again, I speak not as an outside observer of of nerddom. What is the word? But like, as somebody who's lived the life, you know what I mean? I never felt, maybe this would be different if there was somebody who created a game that everybody spent all their time on, and like a radically altered culture like that. But I've always felt that what's usually like what's more important to me, and it seems like what's more important to most nerds, is the content of somebody's bibliography, like what they've made, what they've contributed to, like furthering it. Some things that other people can reference. Like the person themselves isn't really loved usually. Like just look at George Lucas.
Right.
People love Star Wars, but they don't really like George Lucas anymore.
They may have gone
too far in a few places. But
Thanks,
so I just thought it was weird how they deified Halliday, and they even do this in universe where they recognize. Like all the characters
everyone loves everything he loves because he loved it. It's really weird.
That seems like a misunderstanding of the way that's...
Wait, are you saying this movie is maybe a misunderstanding of what people want?
I would never imply that. No, of course not. But yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? It just seems like that's not what's important to people who care about these references.
But you're saying to me that you maybe don't want a book or a movie that's entirely just references to other things. It doesn't have an original idea in its entire
It never implies such
runtime.
a thing. How dare you?
It's just such a weird concept.
Having a book devoted to references?
Yeah. Like, why would people like that?
Well, again, another like classic element, especially of 80s, like the 80s being a nerd, was that you were a minority.
You were always the one getting picked on.
Yeah, so like if everybody likes it, I feel like a lot of people, like a lot of nerds would be like, I'm not into this anymore because it's gone mainstream, Like nerds were kind of the original hipsters in a lot of ways.
Well, and especially in the 80s, that was every movie that had a nerd in it. The nerd was like the underdog.
Right.
He was getting bullied.
He was the outcast of society. And so I feel like as soon as that becomes the norm, then people who would actually care about things like this would immediately feel ostracized by default. So it's just a weird... It's just like a very like base level understanding of the culture that it doesn't really hold up to inspection.
And it just feels like a really cheap, like, cash-in, like... You just take other things that are better than your work of fiction.
Right.
You just, hey, The Shining, people like that.
Right.
Star Wars, people like that.
Yeah, not
That's
a lot
your book?
Doesn't take a lot. I don't even know how copyright-wise, how does that work?
It's gotta be a nightmare. Legally? Like... How does... Yeah, I don't know how that works, but...
The legalese around this kind of thing is always so weird because it's like basically handled on a case-by-case basis,
Yeah.
You can do something that's against the letter of the law and get away with it, or you could do something that doesn't interact with the law at all and get in trouble for it, It just... The way
it's just
that...
all the free advertising.
Yeah. But like Star Trek
movie
gets like
very
CBS, who they own Star Trek, and they get people in trouble for making fan films every once in a while. But then other places, like usually a lot of other fan fiction is allowed, even though technically it violates that.
Well, it's because the companies realize that people care about the thing, and they don't want to piss
I'm not
off
saying
the fans.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No,
I
I know
that's
you're
an
not. I'm just saying I think that's... They're operating in a kind of a gray area, which is basically what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I think a lot of companies recognize that, hey, these people are really passionate about something we made. If we piss them off, we'll probably piss off other fans.
Right. So
I don't know why you'd really care, as long as it's not like too good.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's too good,
well,
then you hire them.
To be fair, the reason CBS got upset about fan films is because somebody basically made a scam Kickstarter for it.
Oh, sure.
And they got so as soon as like a significant amount of money comes into play, then they kind of start getting pissed off.
Because their money.
Yeah, so which was a shame because that film actually looked not bad, but they didn't like there was no credibility and they never like updated it. So.
Here's a fun question. How does the real world work? Like, how do they make money? How do they feed themselves?
How does the real world work? That's a great question. Let's examine this in this episode.
It's a little deep for now, but like, do they go to work? It's never implied that they go to work.
Yeah,
everyone
it's
just
implied that. Well,
does
again,
the government just provide? Is that kind of
does
like,
the government exist?
But like,
it's
they all
very
live in
weird.
the slums, and
I
they
thought
just get food.
Well, this is another reason why I thought that the whole
I know this is picking on the retarded kid, but
yeah, like the whole concept of having a live action element of this movie was weird because I thought the implication was that like the Oasis had become like where people went to work and stuff like that.
Yeah, which it kind of is for the slave labor.
For the slaves, yeah, but
and I was like,
everybody else, it's never really discussed.
Oh, that was another thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but this was really funny. How she gets out of the slave pod.
Oh yeah.
Barely an inconvenience.
That was ridiculous.
Because I was like, what is she gonna do? Like rewire it or something?
Right.
There's just a switch.
Well, what was ridiculous to me was that because I thought that she was gonna be like
upset with her, and it's like, can you be upset with her? It's a little knob.
No other slave in the history of that company had ever looked up.
Also, that company has the worst security. Because she just wanders around in different locations in the head guy's office.
It's weird how they have omnipotence.
She impersonates
outside.
One of the soldiers. She walks around for a while, never gets seen.
It's weird.
They have no cameras. They have nothing.
Well, that's the thing is because she's just in his office, hiding behind the chair for the longest time. But what's weirder about it is that they have like what is the not omnipotence, but
omnipresent?
Not omnipresence, omniscience outside of their own headquarters building because they have drones that can identify anything, anyone, anywhere.
Based on tattoos, though.
Yeah. But they can't find one person who's in their own headquarters building, which you would think would be.
But the thing is, they
more
don't even
secure.
really try. When Krennic finally starts looking, he's just manually going and looking for her.
Yeah.
By taking off their helmets. It's really weird.
Going back to the thing you said about how easy it was for her to get out of the cell. What was the point of her getting out of the cell right then? Because
she stays in there.
She stays, and I was like, because they made a
Doesn't she
really
walk
big
out
point.
and then go back into?
They made a really big point of saying that the magical shield thing could only be disabled from the inside, and so I was like, oh, well, the main guys are going to be like, get out of there, and she's going to be like, no, I have to stay so that I can disable it because I'm... Like, why would you destroy that premise just to go back and have her be on the inside anyway?
Right, like, she goes, she's already inside as a worker.
Uh-huh.
He teaches her how to get out.
Yeah.
She goes out, and then she immediately comes back and goes back in as a worker. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, it's such a weird choice. It just kills runtime. Like,
and then
there's
Krennic's all upset because she got out, and it's like, well, you have latches on the inside of the cells. If they're not supposed to get out, maybe you don't have the emergency latch on the inside.
It's about as secure as the jail cell in the Mayberry Sheriff's Office where you can just reach outside the bars and grab the key. That was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in a movie.
That was really weird. I started losing it. From like that point on, it just keeps getting like really ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like...
And, like, the whole ending with finding the egg and stuff like that, you know? Because, again, what was the message of this? I guess it was to not play to win or whatever, like we were saying.
Sort of?
But he did.
There's, like, 5 different messages, that some of which contradict one another.
Yeah, but he still... He not only flip-flops on getting control of the Oasis, but he also flip-flops on completing the game, quote-unquote. Because arguably that is the end of the game, you know? But...
Also, here's another weird thing that I just realized. So, it's sort of implied... And this could be like incorrect. Like someone maybe if they've read the book or whatever could know the right answer. But in what we're given in the movie, when they do the planet destroying bomb, that only kills everyone on the planet.
Does it?
Right. That's what it does. That's what it says in the movie.
That's what it says? Okay. I don't remember the rules of that.
I was reading an article and they're like, well, it only kills everyone on the planet, but the implication in the universe is that it killed everyone and zeroed out everyone's score. So that would imply that everyone was on Planet Doom.
I mean, that
it's a weirdly specific
that
thing,
does imply that, but that
you think everyone was on Planet Doom?
Well, that was kind of what was implied.
You think everyone? There was nobody who was like, "Nah, I'm gonna troll these suckers."
Let me speak about that for a second, because I thought my first thought coming into that scene where everybody where he was making the broadcast and trying to rally everybody to fight Krennic was, this is so unrealistic. Nobody would ever nobody on the internet thinks like this. But then I was like, wait a second, maybe this is the most realistic thing ever put to film, because what does the internet rally around? Above anything else.
Fighting order.
Exactly. Not helping somebody. They would never rally around helping somebody. But fucking with somebody? That's what the internet does best. So if you made a broadcast on some sort of sort of extremely popular game and just been like, we should go troll. That's essentially what they were doing, was just trolling them. Right. So I was like, you know what? Maybe this is okay. Maybe this is actually how the internet works. Because
that's just what a noob camper would say.
You must be a camper. Sorry, I don't have enough XP.
You don't have a level 99
I don't have enough
DeLorean?
XP to really speak about this. I'm sorry, guys.
Do you know what the Iron Giant is?
Do
you know what a
is that from Back to the Future?
Do you know what a Mecha Godzilla is?
Is that from Overwatch?
Yes. Do you know what a Gundam is?
Oh man.
This is the movie. This is how it was pitched.
It's from Aliens, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Why haven't they made a... Wait, never mind.
What?
Never mind. Cut that part out too.
Go ahead and spit it out. Folks at home want to hear what you have to say.
I actually forgot, to be fair.
I forgot. Temporary amnesia. Selective amnesia.
Selective amnesia. What was I going to say? What were you going to say? You were looking up something. What were you looking up on the forum?
I think we talked.
Is that what? Okay, you've already talked about that. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Ready Player One.
It's pretty much exactly what I expected. Maybe a little bit worse.
See, I was gonna say it was a little better than I expected, but I expected literally nothing. So, out of 10, what would you give this?
Like a 2.
Really? Okay.
What are you gonna give?
3.
Too generous.
Again, I just feel like it wasn't a good movie, but I wasn't expecting it to be a good movie. Nobody was expecting it to be a good movie.
I knew what it was gonna be. I guess some of it was still more poorly handled than even I expected it to be.
I didn't think there was anything remarkably good or bad about this movie. It was entirely filler. I didn't...
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's no point. It's just, look at these things. They're from other things. But even some of the dialogue and whatever was so out of touch with what people actually talk like. Mm-hmm. And then, I mentioned...
That's why I'm giving it a higher score, because it was more entertaining that way.
Sure. I mean, there was parts that were, absolutely laughable, like the jail cell that we talked about.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
How can you write a scene so bad?
There are parts of it that border on bad it's good.
And speaking of really bad scenes, how about the one where they hack Krennic's log out because they know his password?
Yeah.
So they lock him in an illusion of his office, and then he figures it out because they are literally the worst. They don't close the door. They leave it open so he can see in the reflection of his chair. And that was when I was like, 10 out of 10 scene right there.
Yep.
So that kind of stuff was really funny because it's so bad. It's got to be really. Those are the kind of things that you have to imagine the person who wrote it felt a little bit bad.
Well, yeah, it's almost incompetently bad.
That's what I'm saying. It was more incompetent than I even thought it was going to be, and that was what made it entertaining.
Again, I think that I'm biased because I'm seeing I've been thinking about seeing like Solo and stuff, things that are like malevolent, you know?
Sure,
things that actually actively go out of their way to make people angry, you know, or like to destroy something. And so I was so relieved to see something that was just like nothing,
blindly,
you know?
stupid.
Yeah, just like
it obviously
completely
couldn't
bland.
tell that it was
Right.
It was really uncomfortable
Like
and awkward.
it's not. It's an entirely. It's almost a brain dead movie. It's like this is the movie that I felt the most like. Because people always say, "Oh, you're not supposed to think critically about movies. Just a popcorn movie. Just turn your brain off." This was the movie that I felt that this applied to
This is
the
the committee
most.
movie where they said we need a summer blockbuster.
Right. Just literally just turn your brain off.
And somebody was like, "Hey, what if we take all these other movies that are great,
Mm-hmm.
movies and video games, and we just put them into one thing? And
Right.
we just reference the characters. Go, hey, remember that movie? Remember Michael Jackson? Remember Prince?" My favorite though was the guy sitting next to us who kept explaining the references to the 4-year-old.
Thankfully, I didn't hear that.
He's like, "That's Prince. That's Michael Jackson. That's the alien from Aliens." And I was like,
Classic.
"Your daughter is 4. She doesn't know what any of this is."
Classic. Honestly, the theater was not very full, and it bothered
No,
me
we
the
went to the
entire
budget.
time
We
we were
didn't wanna
there.
pay for it.
No, yeah, we paid $4 for each ticket.
Because that was the only reason you could get me to go. But it was enjoyable. I enjoyed how bad it was.
But what bothered me the most about going to that theater was that for some reason we chose the seats. They have assigned seats, and we chose the seats that were in the same row that everybody else was in.
That's true.
Why did we do that? The entire rest of the theater was empty almost.
Are we really going to talk about this right now? Is this really what you want to do? Okay, I don't like picking.
I guess so.
I went first, and a lot of them were like on the edges, like the way fringes. I don't like the fringes.
We ended up being on the fringe
And
anyway.
we weren't quite on the fringe.
Well, I
There
was
an
one
extra
seat away.
Right. Otherwise, they were really close to the front or really far in the back, or there was only one seat. There wasn't usually 2 seats next to each other.
I remember it being almost entirely empty.
All the good seats were taken.
Sure.
Did you want to sit down?
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, next time you go first.
I guess so.
I didn't know we were gonna have assigned seating, and I figured it would be.
Yeah, I thought that was
basically
weird
an
too.
empty
And
theater.
I felt weird because I almost wanted to say we should sit not in this row, but then I saw they had like security cameras out front, and I was like, huh. Citizens
If
Arrest.
you sit in the wrong seat and just like lights start flashing,
Yeah.
and some guy comes running at you, full bore.
I mean, that's what would happen to me, to be
I
fair.
really should have gotten some alcohol.
That's
They
probably
sold
not a bad
alcohol,
idea.
and I was like, it's probably really expensive, so I didn't go for it. But that seems like it would have
That
made the
would've-
movie even better.
Yeah. That's how it was meant to be enjoyed.
Because
The second
the
movie.
only reason I wanted to go is because I knew it was going to be, or I expected it to be stupid enough to be funny. Like, so incompetent.
Mhm.
that it's
And it
funny.
definitely
And it
has
was.
moments of that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why I'm giving it a higher score, was
All right.
because it's like, there have been so many movies that have just been offensive.
Like anything Star Wars.
Yeah, like Last Jedi and
Alright.
Solo and all this stuff that just makes you, like, I was talking earlier about, like, being attacked by a movie. Like, Last Jedi attacked me.
Well,
It
yeah, I
beat
give
me
that
up
a
in an
negative
alley.
5.
Yeah. But this movie, it's just like, it's just like kind of watching, again, going back to the retarded kid analogy, it's like watching a retarded kid in the park, like, fail to pick up a softball. That's what this movie is.
Analogy's falling.
It's like watching a retarded
Much
kid
like
in the park
movie.
fail to pick up a softball for 2.5 hours, or however long this movie was.
It was
And
really long.
that speaks volumes when that is streets ahead of a Star Wars film.
that's a reference to the show Community.
Didn't come out in the 80s though, so it doesn't count.
But it's still a reference to the show Community.
Also, why?
Oh my gosh.
Wow, IMDb.
Shills?
What's weird?
what
Also,
was
did you find it weird that this
2
like
hours and
stereotype?
20 minutes.
Yeah, it was very, very long.
Jeez.
Very long.
I thought it just felt long, but it actually was long.
There's this new stereotype in a lot of blockbusters these days where it's like, there's a, like the second in command of whatever evil corporation is in the movie has like a kind of vaguely ethnic female assistant who's like also a master combatant. Have you noticed this? Because
No.
there was a girl in this one. They did this in Kingsman. Because
Sure.
not Michael
Right,
Jackson.
yeah.
What's his name?
Are you talking about the...
Ma-
I don't,
Mace Windu. What's his name?
Michael Jackson? No, what?
I infected did you too. What is his name?
Oh my gosh, Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson. Thank you. Yes.
That was really embarrassing. Michael Jackson.
Because his assistant was exactly that same archetype. A vaguely ethnic female who is a master martial artist. And
Right.
who did all the main guy's dirty work.
The pokey lady.
And then in Blade Runner 2049, there was also that girl who worked for, not Tyrell, but what was the new guy? What was that guy's name?
I don't remember Blade Runner 2049. That's a movie that was long and not funny.
Yeah.
That was just boring.
Like that's a good thing to contrast this to, because this one was just so like, again, like so much of a wacky nightmare that I at least stayed awake. That's what's giving it the extra points.
That's true.
Blade Runner 2049 was a nightmare that made me want to go to sleep.
Blade Runner is just
to escape
NyQuil.
it. But yeah, that movie had the exact same archetype, remember? Because he has the girl who fights Harrison Ford and guy from Drive in the...
She's a badass.
Yeah. I feel like that was a World of Warcraft reference. The guy...
Sure.
Was it? The guy,
Why
like
not?
the main Halliday's...
I've never played World of Warcraft.
Halliday's Avatar.
Never will. So...
What a movie. What a film. What a sad excuse.
Remember how they
film.
kept playing like 10 seconds of 80s music?
Uh-huh.
Like they would start the song.
Look
is
up
it
when,
cheaper?
Look up when the thing is that if you play less than 9 seconds, then YouTube's content ID doesn't recognize it. So that's just using your head right there. What was the guy's name? Why did I just lost my train of thought again? Gosh, it's really late.
It's not that late.
How late is it?
How late?
Oh, 11. I guess it's not that late.
11 o'clock. Alright. What are we looking up?
I forgot again.
Okay, well, let me know if you figure that out.
What was I going to say? Oh, well, whatever. We're just looking at
I'm just trying to remember if
pictures.
there's anything else I felt like I needed to point out about this movie. It's one of those movies that definitely would be panned if it wasn't like by Spielberg though.
Yeah.
And like supported by all these companies. If someone made a movie with this concept, it would be panned.
Well, that's the thing.
Well,
that's what
but what I'm saying is there was a general meh about it,
Uh-huh.
but there wasn't like this movie is funny bad,
Right.
which it is. And I think that's interesting. Like, not a lot of people like there are. I mean, I know people who aren't even big fans of like the book, and they went and saw it, and they were like, "It was pretty fun. It was a good movie. It was a good popcorn movie." That kind of thing, like
Right.
you were saying.
Turn your
And it's
brain
like,
off.
No. If anyone else made this movie, like if it was called anything else, and it wasn't made by a big company, people would make fun of it.
Well, here's what I think about that, because I think that this is kind of like the perfect storm of being bad at filmmaking, because I think that on either side of the spectrum, if this was a really low-budget indie movie... Wow.
She looks like the monster from
lady?
Gerald's Game.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ghostbusters lady.
Here, let me pull up the monster from Gerald's Game, because she looks like the monster from Gerald's Game.
Sure. All right. I'm so glad that everybody listening to the podcast...
You're going to put the images in.
Me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, you're editing this episode.
Oh, really? I guess we can just have as many pauses as we want then, because we can just cut them all out.
Picture.
I lost my train of thought again.
Sorry. Look. Face.
Oh, wow. He looks like,
Face.
wow. He looks like the guy from Samurai Cop.
No, this is actually scary. This is one of the few horror movies that have actually creeped me out.
What was
this.
What was the
That's
guy from
terrifying.
Samurai Cop with the really wide jaw? Doesn't he look like that?
It's a good thing we have IMDb. I can never remember his name. It's
like Zamar or something. Zadar?
Yeah, Robert Zadar.
Robert Zadar, yeah.
There you go. Isn't that scary, though?
Sure.
She wakes up and is nibbling on her toes.
I don't get it.
It's pretty creepy.
I don't get it. Alright. But
you don't think that's creepy?
I think that if this movie... I think that this was in the Goldilocks zone of, people not liking it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was really well... If it was on the other end of the spectrum and it was really really well done, you know, and, they actually hired a writer for it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or, made it interesting or clever or subversive in a good way or something, it could have been good, you know?
Sure.
But if it was a really low budget indie film that just was premiered at Sundance or something, you know, and they didn't have all these crazy references, and it was just a concept of like an Easter egg hunt, just like basically like a heist movie, you know, but a virtual heist movie. That could have worked too, but it just was like so committee bred,
and it's
you
so
know?
on the nose.
Yeah,
like, I think you're right. It's not the worst concept in the world. It's
super
just
poorly executed.
Well,
that's the problem.
right, and the like the pandering of it, like, hey fellow kids, like we talked about, it's just it's trying so hard to be liked by, again, taking all these things that are good and saying, remember this thing?
Mm-hmm.
That try to be original. There's nothing wrong with writing an original story about, like, the Oasis. Like, is that the worst thing in the world? I don't know. That would make it somewhat interesting, like, average sci-fi book. But no, it has to be, you know, very relying so heavily on other things.
Mm-hmm.
But
and just completely misunderstanding them in the and what made them so popular in the first place in the process,
right?
You know. But why are we just looking at Ready Player One IMDb now?
One more random comment. It was really weird how the team comes together, because Scarface just like calls them, but they weren't her friends. Like, you know what I mean? They just sort of like came together. I thought the whole thing would be like they would meet them along the way, you know?
Yeah, they didn't really
and,
introduce
like,
them
characters.
gradually.
They're just all there.
Yeah.
That's just a weird thing.
Whether or not they were there or not was kind of a binary value.
Right. That's not I don't hate the movie for that. It was just really weirdly handled.
Uh-huh.
Because it was like they ran out of time, even though the movie runtime was really long, and nothing happens for long stretches. I shouldn't say nothing happens, because there's a lot happening. It's just none of it means anything.
Yeah.
Schlock.
It's a schluck. And Simon Pegg's really unconvincing old makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like...
Glad I wasn't alone in thinking that.
No, it's like... It's not just because I know Simon Pegg doesn't look like that. It looked really bad.
Yeah.
What was the other movie recently that had really... But it was supposed to look bad. It was like a cheap comedy movie.
The Room.
Sure.
What movie were we talking about?
Well, I don't know.
Well, give me more about it.
I don't know where I was going with that.
All
There
right.
was a movie recently. Maybe I just watched it recently that had really bad old age makeup. Looper has really bad old age makeup.
Well,
they try to
know
make...
why, because it was directed by Rian Johnson.
Right. But they try to make Joseph Gordon-Levitt look like Bruce Willis, and it's not very convincing.
He should have just done us all a favor and peeled the skin off his own face before he directed Last Jedi, to use that as the makeup. Wow.
He just makes the same face.
It's like a flip book.
Oh wow, look how relevant he is.
Is that T.J. Miller?
Yeah.
Okay.
T.J. One Note Miller.
Which is funny that you brought that up, because I thought my guess for who was voicing that guy was Ryan Reynolds. Oh wow.
Have you seen these posters?
Are these real?
Yes, these are real. People made fun of these. You should put these in the edit.
What?
But, so there was a whole thing. These came out pretty shortly before the movie came out. These were the posters, and they basically just did a whole series of ripping off, much like the movie, 80s things, and they're all really bad.
This looks like a fan-made thing.
Does it not? Yeah, it looks like something you'd find on DeviantArt.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Wow.
And they have like taglines and everything, and it's just... Look at that.
Good Lord. So that's a little sad, but...
No, it's depressing.
Oh my god.
Look at them as the Breakfast Club.
That was a movie. I remember that movie.
Like, I mean, these are real. These are all real.
Oh, Blade Runner. Wow. Incredible.
What is that one?
I don't know.
An adventure too big for the real world.
Ant-Man.
It's too recent. Oh, these might just be actual... Oh, these are just actual...
This is a reference to Ant-Man, actually.
Right. Wait, what? Oh, maybe that's it. I thought there was more.
It's like Deadpool.
The promo material for this movie was awful.
Deadpool 2 did that same thing, where they... I don't know if these are fan-made or not, but somebody made, like...
Those are better executed.
Do you remember those? Were those real or were those fan-made?
Like the one with, like, all the bullets raining down on?
No.
That's real.
No, the ones where, like, he was like Deadpool's face in, like, Terminator 2 and stuff like that.
Those might be real.
I don't remember if that was fan made or not, but
these are pretty cringy though.
this is pretty bad.
These
Yeah.
are pretty cringy. Also, were you surprised when H was a woman? H with a very modulated voice.
Yeah, weird, right?
Right.
Weird.
Anyway, she did look like the girl from Ghostbusters, though. That was
Yeah.
the other reference I was gonna make. But then I was like, hey,
But then I made
looks
it
like
first.
the Crypt Creeper from Gerald's Game.
Every time you say Crypt Creeper, I think you're talking about the Crypt Keeper, and it's very, very disjointed.
Listen, one is scary, one is not.
Are you saying the Crypt Keeper isn't scary? Wow.
I've never actually seen the Crypt Creeper. Crypt Keeper.
Yep.
Have you?
Nice.
Have you watched Tales from the Crypt? That's what that's from, right?
I've seen a picture.
That's a thing I know.
It's from the 80s.
I've never watched it.
What is the girl from this? I feel like she's been in like one other thing that I've seen.
She's so ugly. I don't know
Wow.
how she'd ever
Wow.
be cast. in
Listen,
anything
let's
else.
save that for Rose Tico, alright? Save the real
It's called sarcasm.
hard-biting insults.
It's called sarcasm.
Oh, Ready Player One, wow. I have no idea what I've seen.
Ouija, The Signal.
Maybe I've seen Ouija, because I have watched like
These
some
are her known for. So
really
that means
bad
it drops
horror
off from
movies.
here.
Go down.
Bates Motel.
don't-
Axe Cop.
Okay.
I've seen nothing.
Yep,
she's
I've
in.
seen none of this either, I guess.
Okay, she's played herself in several things.
The IMDb show. What?
The IMDb Studio. Alright, anyway. Good for her.
Why don't we just, we should just stream our screens while we're recording this, because otherwise we have to edit the
Well, you
the
have
pictures
to.
in.
Hey, is it? It is. Another movie, it's good. That's not...
What is this? 2 of the best... What was that list?
2 of the best video game movies aren't actually based on video games. Tom Cruise's Edge of Tomorrow... Wait, what?
What?
Wait, why are the choice...
And then there's just like...
I'm rather...
What is this?
I
What
don't
what
know.
have we stumbled
What did
onto
I-
here?
What was it called? Sorry, we should probably, cut this out.
We'll cut this out.
It says Ready Player One, exclamation point. I don't know.
Alright.
Is it all the movies that it references or something?
When did it reference North by Northwest?
I don't know. I know it did Escape from New York. I've never seen
Princess
that.
Bride. When did I miss a Princess Bride
Maybe
reference?
Raising Arizona. Akira. I think these are things that it's the movie reference.
But when?
I remember them saying Run Lola Run. Is there Kill Bill?
Probably. Like, so much of this just could have been like one single background character
Well,
in one of those
yeah.
crowd scenes. Looper.
I honestly don't know what this list is.
It referenced Ready Play. It referenced itself. Alright, well.
So, I'm not changing my score.
2 out of 10?
2 out of 10.
Okay.
Maybe a 2.1.
2.1
I'm feeling...
out of 10.
No, 2.2. I'm feeling generous.
Wow. You're too kind. Get it? Too kind.
Do you spell your name with a 3 instead of an E?
I like how they did. That was another one.
Yeah.
We should make a list of like all the cringy gamer references.
Well, you see, gamers replaced letters with numbers.
That was
Look
another
like
thing.
them.
Like, again, they came so close to subverting, that with because they had that ad towards the beginning of the movie where it was like, "Get your game on," and it was like really over the top,
Yeah, well,
which is
yeah,
like
yeah.
how gamer advertisements are, and nobody likes them. So it was like, if you were to play that up somehow, and then like maybe somebody could make a comment about how it's dumb, or like nobody does that, then that would have been fine.
It was, yeah.
But-
it didn't really... It was a movie that didn't know what it wanted to be.
Yeah, it was very
ultimately.
confused.
It was just a horrible nightmare of mismatched things.
That's
But
the
hey.
subtitle for Ready Player One.
A series
Okay.
of unfortunate events. Yep. Ready Player One. It's a few months late, but
Yeah,
we talked about it.
but we had to wait until...
Because we didn't want to talk about Solo.
And we had to wait until it was at the budget theater because we weren't paying
Nobody wanted to pay
$10
$10
for
to go
it.
see it.
Yeah.
relevant.
We should talk about other movies that came out 6 months to a year ago.
Like what?
No, I'm just saying in the future.
Oh.
For other episodes. We'll just be 6 months late. That's what the podcast could be called. 6 months late.
Half a year too late. That's what we're going to call it. But the 2 is the number 2.
Okay. And then the E in late is a 3.
Oh, well, yeah.
So
I thought that was implied.
Alright.
Apparently the author actually did help write the screenplay, so people can't use the book as an excuse.
I've never heard of this author before either.
You ever heard of the classic Ernest Cline?
Why? Well, that's what he looks like, huh?
Wait, was he in
He
the
was in
Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that is
Was he,
unfortunate.
though?
Maybe that's just like a fan thing. Maybe he was just like... Maybe he made a Ghostbusters fan film. Ernset.
You get the idea. Alright, no, I think he's just a big fan of Ghostbusters.
Alright.
Do you think he likes 80s pop culture?
That would be purely speculative, I think. I don't want to really...
He didn't? Oh, he has a Ghostbusters DeLorean.
Wow. Incredible.
This guy, I wish I was this guy.
He's like the physical
kinda wish I had a
embodiment of his
DeLorean.
own book. I like DeLoreans.
They're wacky cars.
Was there an Ecto-1 in this movie?
I was surprised the USPS wasn't an Ecto-1. I thought that's what it was going
Yeah.
to be. Or like even styled like an Ecto-1.
It's like so many problems in this could have been solved
would
if they
be
just didn't have any
IRL.
distinguishing markings on them, you know? Because the only reason they found anybody in this movie was because the drones can recognize patterns.
Tattoos.
and bumper stickers or whatever.
Like demon faces.
So if it was just a regular guy, or if it was just a regular car, none of this movie would have really happened. None of the tension in this movie would have happened. Yeah, what is that?
You're asking an awful lot of questions.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
It's real weird. I like it.
Is that Alex Jones?
I hope so. Not read enough. Oh, that feels real nice.
Alright, I feel like we've run out of things to talk about in this movie. Do you have anything else
Do
you
you
want to...
feel that?
No. What?
Alright.
Cut that out, too.
We should cut that out. Cheerio. We're really bad at ending these. We just sort of trail off.
Well, because we just run out of things to talk about. Like, what else do we...
Uh,
do you have anything else? Any parting words?
no, but we should at least, like, film an outro. Because...
Film an outro.
You know what I mean. Record an outro. Because the last few ones have just been, alright, bye. And we just hit the button, and it's weird.
So... what's the outro?
Why is this on me?
You came up with the intro.
Thanks for watching our chat about Ready Player One, 6 months too late. Hope you liked it. If you didn't, I don't care. Because nobody's going to watch this anyway. Do you have anything you would like to say, Don?
I would usually not say anything as an outro. I would just hit the stop recording button.
That's borderline
So.
experimental.